Hello, welcome to John's Author Diary for the weekend in March the 10th, 2019. I've been ill this week, so I've not done much in the way of writing, which means I am now 2 weeks behind on my schedule for writing strength. So all week I've had a chest infection. I think I'm over the hump now, nearly cleared with it. Spent a couple of days in bed watching masterclass courses. So I think I mentioned last week that I did the Neil Gaiman one. And this week I did the Dan Brown one, which was focused on writing thrillers. Now, I don't particularly write or read thrillers, but I did find it really useful anyway to consider ways to add more pace to my writing and little tips that I will take forward. So I was quite pleased with that. I think Dan Brown does get a lot of stick because he writes to a certain market, and he does not write for anyone who is interested in writing on a sentence level as a literary thing, but what he does is he creates page-turning stories. And so if I can get a balance between the kind of quality and voice of writing that I want with my work, which isn't as simplistic as a Dan Brown, but at the same time I don't want it to be in the literary fiction kind of level. I want it to be more lyrical, more rhythmic. That's important to me. So someone like Ursula K. Le Guin, if I can achieve something like that, then that would be wonderful. It's about striking that balance and finding my voice, which even though I've published 4 novels and several novellas, I still think I'm in that process of finding out who I am as a writer. So as well as doing the masterclass videos, I also read a book called The Portable MFA in Creative Writing. Now, this was very much the antithesis, I would say, of what Dan Brown was doing. This was very much about creative writing as an art form. So there was a lot of stuff about fiction, a lot of stuff about poetry. And then there were also things like memoir and magazine writing and things like that. So it was interesting to get that different perspective. I think there's a few things that I will take away from that. But I honestly think that of the stuff that I've done lately, I think the Dan Brown stuff is more useful, more relevant, more practical, something that I can apply straight away that isn't just vague, kind of pondering. So as well as all that stuff, I also read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. So this is part of me trying to read a classic every month. So I really enjoyed this. It's very much similar to the Disney version, and it was a nice quick read. Last weekend I had my friend Russ come to stay. Now, if you listened to my other podcast, Stop Booking Around, you'll have heard how I'm helping him write his first novel. And we've had to take a little hiatus off this podcast for a few months, but he came up on the weekend and we talked about his story. We've got some ideas, so I think we might be going forward again with the podcast soon, picking up where we left off. See it as season 2 of Stop Booking Around, so I'm hoping that we can organise that. I mentioned a while ago that I didn't want it just to turn into a weekly interview podcast with different authors and things like that, but I still want to throw in the occasional guest, maybe once a month, just to take a bit of the pressure off for us. So if you've not listened to that podcast yet, go and check out Stop Booking Around and start listening today. So the only thing I've been doing this week in terms of actual writing is outlining. I've outlined the next 2 books in the Ravenglass Chronicles. So I don't know whether it's going to be possible, but I'd like to draft them before the Easter holidays. So this means I've got 12 more writing days to do this. So we'll see how that goes. I've also received some feedback on The Chariot from one of my alpha readers that has been really useful. So I did make some changes to that. Just little tweaks to make the story stronger, to restructure some of the scenes, just to bring out the emotional impact, that kind of thing. So that's now ready for the editor. So I'm looking forward to getting that out as soon as possible. So I've been carrying on posting stuff on Patreon, and I've had some new patrons, so that's awesome. So people at the $1 level don't get a shout out, but anyone who goes on the $3 level or above will get a shout out on the podcast. But still, I really appreciate everyone who's supporting. I've recently posted a story called Perfectly Blue and Perfectly Square, which is a story that I've never released anywhere else before. It's a space opera story about 2-dimensional squares appearing in space, and some space cats on a cruise ship are the only ones who could save the day. So it's a bit daft, a bit silly, but it's a fun story. So I've had no questions this week. If you've got a question, please do email me. It's john@johncronshaw.com. That's JONCRONSHAW. Remember, you can support me on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/JohnCronshawAuthor. So until next time, cheerio.